Hi friends, I guess we are live. Let me just check if everything is working as expected. Give me a minute or so, I'll be back. In the meantime, can you please also confirm in the chat window if you're able to see me and also my screen side by side and hear me? Can you please confirm that, folks? Just getting started. I'm just checking if everything is working as expected. Yeah, I can hear myself. I can also see. Is everything clear? Just checking if. Okay, can you please confirm? I'm also looking at the chat on another computer. So is it cool that you can see me, hear me, and also see something written to my to the other side? Everything is clear? Okay, sounds good. So we are right on time. We are at sharp 6 p.m. So let's get started now. There are a couple of, or let's wait for a couple of minutes. And what we'll try to do is, as I mentioned earlier, we'll spend about 30-35 minutes covering some material that I have put in here with the help of all of my team. And once we are done with it, we'll go for a Q&A. But please understand that we may not be able to answer everyone's questions because there might be too many people attending. And since this is a public live session, and we may not be able to answer everything, number one. Number two, since I'm streaming this from my residence, from my home right now. If there is a power cut, please be patient. I'll try to rejoin back within 5 minutes in the same live session. And if YouTube terminates this live session, I'll start a new live session and continue there. Okay, so please be patient. In case there is a power cut, it will take a few minutes for our apartment complex generator to kick in. So it might take me a few minutes to be back online. So since at our office, we have power backup, all that stuff set up. At residence, I don't have a very good setup, so please bear with me. In case there is a power failure, please be patient. I'll try to be back online in 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, just wanted to make that clear. Okay, so okay, I see again. Try to put in your the way, because there could be a flood of comments and questions. We may not be able to answer everything, and there might be a lot of overlaps in questions. So what we thought is we'll first cover a bunch of overview based on what we have collected data from. All that stuff, we'll try to go through that. And my team is also helping me collate the most frequently asked questions that students are typing in the chat window. We'll try to answer as many as possible once we cover through that. Is that all right? Just wanted to make sure that all of us are on the same page. Okay, cool. Okay, sounds good. Okay, let's get here. Again, the topic today is not about specifically machine learning, AI, or software engineering jobs. It's not about that. It's a much broader topic of discussion. So again, you can see, I guess all of you can see some handwritten notes to the other side, right? Can you please confirm if you can see? If you can see, please. Can you guys please confirm on the on the chat window if everything is cool? Okay, yeah, sounds good. So let's get into it. So I hope everybody can see a bunch of handwritten notes here. Again, this is just to keep so that I don't miss any key point here. Okay, cool. So let's go one by one. The first thing, the topic is how do you survive, and most importantly, how do you excel professionally during a slowdown? Again, today we are in the pandemic lockdown stage. But this lockdown will eventually be lifted, certainly after probably a few weeks or days, depending on the country you live in. And then post that, there could be some economic circumstances that may be hard, to be honest. Okay, so there could be an economic slowdown, there could be a recession, and we don't know how severe that could be. Even the best of best macroeconomists don't know that. So in case something like that happens, how do we survive it professionally? Again, from a personal viewpoint, please follow the guidelines given by your local, state, and central governments to stay safe. That's very, very important, because if you fall ill, all this goes down the drain, right? So you have to be healthy first before you can do anything. Okay, so I'll also give you some historical context with some from our own personal experiences of our team mentors and guides, and some from, in general, the last century of recessions, slowdowns, wars, etc. So this is the agenda that we have. As you can see, this is the agenda that I have for discussion today. First is, let me give you a historical context to tell you that this is not the first time this is happening. It may be the first time for some of you, but please remember that economic slowdowns especially in Europe and US, have been happening every 10 years. Thankfully, India did not have a severe impact in the last Great Recession, but this time we don't know how things might pan out, right? So, and a lot of India's work is dependent, a lot of at least the IT, the business, some of the work, if not all the work, some of it is dependent on the European and the US markets. Also some part the Southeast Asian markets, right? So I'll give you a historical context, especially from the context of Europe and US. How, and again, this is not, an economic slowdown has happened almost regularly every 10 to 15 years. And there are some great lessons to learn from history. Then I'll discuss about how working professionals who are currently employed or who are just fired, how can, or if they get fired in the future, how can they handle the situation? So that's the first focus. Then I'll talk about students who are just graduating now or who will be graduating in the next 1 year. How can they prepare professionally for the slowdown in case that happens? And I'll also give an overview of how the job market might look like. Again, we don't know exactly how the job market will look like. If I start making predictions without having the foundational knowledge, I don't think we can do anything. So, okay, so I also have some questions coming in from some of our, which are being collated. So I'll try to answer these as soon as I finish this. My team thankfully is collating, reading through all the chat window and trying to put it in here, right? So then we'll open it up for Q&A. But remember, the most important thing that you should remember is the greatest, as I put it here, right? So you can just see it here. The greatest human potential is realized in the toughest of times. Okay, when life goes smooth, we all like chill out, we all enjoy the good things of life. It's only when a major catastrophe hits us that the human innovation, human ingenuity, human strife brings out the best in us. So there are two ways of looking at this whole situation. You can say, okay, I mean, the world is going to collapse, or you can become pessimistic about it and say, dude, this is like some worst case Hollywood movie. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is, okay, can I do something about it? Yes, personally, I can stay safe and I can ensure that I follow the guidelines given by government organizations. Professionally, what can I do? Okay, so there are broadly two types of people. People who get pessimistic, who get bogged down, they're going to head nowhere. They're going to get most likely into a depression. And it's unfortunate. See, it's when things, macroeconomic things like this happen or anything major happens, it's how we react to it that matters. Not because can you and I control some, I mean, I think even the world's most powerful countries and armies cannot control this. This is a sheer accident. It's a like once in a century event. Okay, after the 1918 Spanish flu, we have not seen anything of this scale till date, right? So I think this is beyond our means to control. We can only be participants in ensuring that everybody around us is safe. And the most important thing is how we react to it. Okay, if you panic, game's up. Your job should be, okay, I understand what it is. From a historical context, where can I move forward? That should be our attitude to things. Okay. So let's look at some historical context here. The 2020, this is being called as the Great Lockdown. If you go to Wikipedia, this is called the Great Lockdown. And 2008, I have been through it. I graduated in 2009 May, almost at the peak of the Great Recession. And 2001, I've heard about it. I've read extensively about it, about the dot-com bust. And prior to that, every 10 to 15 years, there is at least a minor recession, especially in US or Europe. Minor recession, if not a major one. Of course, the last major one, of course, there have been two major wars, two major world wars, which literally destroyed the greatest economies of the world and also built greatest economies. In addition to that, there was this Great Depression, right? Some people think that we might go into a Great Depression-like situation. Most likely, we may not, because in 1929 to 1933, the macroeconomic principles were not as solid as we know them today. So a lot of modern economics or macroeconomics is built as a response to that Great Depression. So I believe there are great economists, political thinkers, bureaucrats, politicians who know how to handle it better than all of us, right? So this has happened many times. And I guess most of you are in your early stages of your career. I'm assuming that most of you are either students or people with less than 10 years experience. That will be a majority of participants that are participating today, which means you have almost 30 plus years of your career ahead of you. It's very easy. Again, we humans do this all the time. We look at this small snippet of time. We look at things like, okay, what is happening now? What is happening in this 1 month, 2 months, maybe 1 year? We don't zoom out and look at the larger picture of life. If you look at your career as a 30, 35 years thing, right? This may be just a small blip. Okay. So don't get bogged down by all the negativity, all the catastrophe that might be happening on the healthcare front in some countries. Zoom out. Don't look at this time as 1 month lockdown, 3 months lockdown, or 1 year. Zoom out and see the big picture. Even after the 2008 crash, right? Look at the upswing that happened after that, right? 2008, everything crashed, but within just a few years, the world economy has surpassed, it reached great heights. Great innovation has happened, right? So most importantly, what you should not forget is not just today, in your next 30 years of your career, you might encounter 2 or 3 recessions. If it is your first recession, this is a great learning opportunity to learn from. Okay. And very importantly, again, I just listed a bunch of companies here. All these companies started during the Great Recession of 2008. Just imagine, some of these we use every day. Currently, I'm using WhatsApp to talk to my team right now, and they're sending me messages on what is the most popular questions that people are asking. There is Uber that all of us know about. There is Instagram, Pinterest, Slack, Airbnb, Cloudera. There are thousands of great companies that started during a recession. I mean, just imagine that. So there is huge potential. Of course, some companies will die. Let's be realistic about it. But with the death of some institutions and companies, others will rise, right? So all these are great companies that actually started during the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, right? So you have to keep that perspective. Don't get bogged down by looking at the 6 months or the 1 year. Look at the larger picture. Okay, cool. So I have a flood of questions. I'll try to answer them in a while anyway. So if you're a working professional, let's go one by one, right? So currently you have a job, you're a working professional, you're not yet fired. How do you tackle this? Please understand that some industries are more heavily impacted than others. Hotels, airlines, the whole travel and tourism industry is crazy hit. I think this is one industry which is hurt the first and it will be the last to recover. Let's be realistic about it. Okay, so there would be more job losses if you're working for that industry as a software engineer or whichever role you're doing, right? So that's common sense. And there might be other industries which are booming now, like online education is one, right? Because schools are shut down, colleges are shut down, people want to upskill for the new world. So online education is one space which is booming, right? So there are other spaces also, like for example, all the online entertainment, right? Your Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, they all are booming now, right? So in any great recession or in any situation like this, some companies will be hit, some companies will see an uptick. I'll give you an example. In the 2008 recession, the companies that literally won were companies like Walmart, because Walmart provides extremely affordable and decent quality products. People still want to go and buy products. So instead of going to a premium store, they would go to Walmart, right? I think same thing will happen in India. Instead of people buying premium stuff, they'll buy affordable, good quality stuff. So some industries, like similarly, there is a whole thing called Dollar Club, or so not Dollar Club, it's called Dollar Tree, okay, which is also like low cost products. They completely, like, they had a huge upswing during the last recession. Airbnb, people didn't want to spend extra money in hotels. So they said, okay, how can people who have larger homes make some money? Airbnb was born out of that need, right? WhatsApp was born out of that need in the last recession because people said, I don't want to send SMS because SMS costs money. Oh, WhatsApp people said, okay, what if all this can be done over the internet with smartphones just starting off? Remember, Apple launched their iPhone just a year before the recession. But still, they became one of the most popular brands through the recession because they gave a great product, right? So there will be some job losses in some industries, but not all the industries. That's something that you should remember. For you to survive, let's take a smaller perspective. This is a big macroeconomic company level perspective. Imagine I'm working in a team. how do I ensure that I don't get fired? Okay, again, if you have a job today, the most important thing that you should do is make sure that you do not get fired. And how do you ensure that? You become indispensable for the team. Okay, you start doing stuff that is absolutely necessary for your client or customer. Okay, make yourself absolutely indispensable, which means, okay, if this person goes, this whole team will collapse. You have to become that. Okay, if you do not become that, you might, and if you're, see, at the end of the day, companies also don't want to fire people, but it's the economic reality. They can't pay paychecks. Let's be realistic about, let's put ourselves in the shoes of those companies, right? Imagine if you're doing, if you're building some software for hotels. I mean, they're not making even a penny. What would they do? I mean, so one of the first thing they'll say, okay, today we have 20 software engineers who are working. Can we get done with 5? Again, it's not that they're against you or anything. It's just the economic reality. You should be in those 5 people who are indispensable. Okay, if you're not, there is a good chance you'll be fired, especially if you're working in industries which are heavily impacted by this. That's a reality of it. Again, I'll tell you, if you're fired, how to handle the situation in just a few minutes. You have to become indispensable. Number 2, in a downturn, every company wants to innovate. Every company wants to innovate. I was reading a case study about this burger company called Shake Shack, very popular burger company in the US. They've never allowed people to take away. It's a very popular burger, especially in the Northeast near New York, right? So they never let people take away their burgers. So they did not have drive-thrus earlier. Today, they just changed their whole system to have drive-thrus. Imagine the company that built the back-end technology for that quickly, right? So you have to innovate for your customer or for your client. You have to innovate. Okay. Don't assume that it is, suppose let's assume I'm working for a pharma company. Okay. Again, pharma is one space which will take off this time, hopefully, right? Whichever company you work for or whichever client you work for, ask yourself this question. This is a time of downturn, so companies would want to innovate. The status quo does not work sometimes. So you cannot say, oh, I've not done this for the last 20 years, I will not do it now. You have to do it sometimes. And this is a great opportunity for you to push your innovation, your innovative ideas to your client or customer as suggestions. At the end of the day, whether it's your client or your customer or your company, they want to do 2 things in this recession. They want to conserve or save money, because the more money they save, the longer they can run the company. And they want to generate additional revenues by providing better service to their customers. So you have to become indispensable and you have to innovate your way. You have to provide innovative solutions to your clients and customers. You don't do that, your whole team could get swiped off. I'm being honest with you. This will happen. If there is an axe through which you have to reduce the number of software engineers or number of people working, who will go first? Whoever I can live without. Right? So those are but if you innovate, I'll give you some examples of people who have actually innovated, right? So you have to innovate for your client and customer. Don't think innovation is your manager's job or your director's job or your senior manager's job. It is your job to innovate for your client or customer. Okay. You have an opportunity to make a dent now. Don't leave that. It doesn't happen every day. Next, in the process of becoming both indispensable and to innovate for your client, ensure that you're learning new things. Because tomorrow you might have to learn a new thing completely. Either it could be technical or business, doesn't matter. Whatever you need to innovate for your client, whatever you need to become indispensable, whatever the technology is, whatever the business is, it could be HR, it could be sales, it could be marketing, it could be AI, it could be front-end development, it could be anything, doesn't matter. It could be automation, whatever it is, whatever technologies and whatever skills will make you indispensable and which will help you innovate for your customer, you have to learn that. Those who do not learn are the first guys who will lose. Again, I've talked to a few students of ours who have not upskilled themselves for almost 5 years now. They're doing the same job for the last 5 years, right? Now is the time for you to look outwards and to learn and grow, right? Because now if the axe comes down, you might be one of the guys who will lose the job. Again, I'm not saying everybody will lose the job. I think only a small percentage of people will lose the job, but that depends on the industry that you're working in. Very, very importantly, you cannot just talk words and get away this time. You have to take initiative and show results. Like I'll tell you, one of our employees, he took the initiative to build a very, very nice tool that will help many of our students. I mean, he just built it during our, as many of you know, we were doing we've done like 22 live sessions in the last month. One of our ex-students who is also an employee, he said, hey, Varma, this might help some of our students. I said, okay, very nice idea. He got me a proof of concept in like 24 hours. And that's what matters, right? Now that employee becomes extremely indispensable for me because he's innovating for our students, right? At the time when it is needed. He's going out of his way. He doesn't know how to build it. He just learned it very quickly, right? So we want people who adapt to new realities, who put themselves in the shoes of the company to innovate for the customer. And if you just say, hey, let's build it, nobody will take you seriously. You have to take initiative, get results, right? So if you currently have a job and a working professional, these are the things that you have to do. You can't escape these now, okay? Next, try to get more done with less, because there will be a resource. At the end of the day, a slowdown is basically an economic constraint. Companies cannot hire more people because they cannot pay more salaries. So the first thing they'll say is, what parts of this whole system can we automate? And instead of having 20 engineers, can I get done this whole work with 10 engineers? I mean, that's a very common thing because everybody wants to save costs now. Saving costs is one of the ways of doing it, right? So get more done with less. If you have been thinking of automating some of your work, either it could be any sort of work. It could be testing. It could be anything, right? This is a great opportunity to show that yes, we can automate. Again, if the company says, okay, that's great, we don't want to fire anybody, you're getting more work done, which means your whole team becomes much more indispensable. Please make sure that it's not just you who is indispensable. Also become a team player. Don't fight with your own teammates. Try to make sure that your team is indispensable, not just you. Okay, and that can be done with great collaboration. For those people who are go-getters, okay, who do not panic, who say, okay, and in every catastrophe, there is an opportunity for the guys who are go-getters. This is the time for all the go-getters amongst you. It's a great opportunity to innovate. Your managers, your senior managers, directors may not have heard of some great ideas that you gave them in the past. This is the time when they listen because even their jobs are on the line. Okay, so this is the time to push. These are the go-getters, right? These are the go-getters who can go and get things done. So instead of panicking, instead of going all gloom and doom, take the control, go with the right attitude, learn whatever is required, and let's get things done. I'll give you a nice example. There is this guy called Ryan Graves. Many people don't know about him. He was working as a database administrator at General Electric around the last recession. I don't remember the exact years. And he was in the IT department. So he said, and he didn't graduate from a world's top university. I think he graduated from the second tier university in the US. I think BS in economics, I guess. Okay, so during the last recession, there was this company which is no more popular called Foursquare, wherein you can check in into locations and things like that. So this guy applied to Foursquare. Foursquare outright rejected, saying, you don't have any marketing, business development, you don't have any of this experience. How can we hire you? He said, okay. He said, I will get new businesses on Foursquare. So he actually went and spoke to businesses, said, hey, Foursquare is a great thing. Why don't you join Foursquare? He got 4 or 5 businesses in his city sign up for Foursquare. And he was not an employee of Foursquare. He acted as an evangelist. He got these companies and then he sent an email to Foursquare saying, hey, these 5 businesses, I got them online for you. He was immediately offered the job of a business development guy at Foursquare. I mean, this guy had no business development experience. This guy was a pure DB guy, the database SQL IT guy, right? He learned completely new skills. And the company outright rejected him. He said, you don't have any of this background. He said, okay, I'll prove that I have. I'll actually get you business free of cost. Which company would reject you then? Then after Foursquare, when Uber started during the last recession, I think around 2009, 2010, because why did Uber start in the last recession? Again, because everybody wanted to save some money in their cab trips. Uber was cheaper than taking a regular cab in many parts of especially in the US. right? And people wanted to earn a little more money by being Uber drivers themselves part-time. So this guy was the first employee at Uber. First employee. He took the whole risk. These are like hardcore risk takers, right? So he joined Uber as so the Uber CEO tweets and says, hey, I'm looking for people who are interested to join me. This guy says, I'm interested. He took the whole risk. He now runs a venture capital firm. He's a billionaire and he has done terrific work. Look at this, a DB admin at General Electric, not a hardcore tech company, was the first employee. He was also, if I'm not wrong, CEO of Uber for a while. Now he runs his own, he's on the board of directors today. He also runs his own venture capital firm, right? So he completely learned new skills and got things done. And he took the risk. Again, not everybody may be risk takers. But if you are the type of guy who is a risk taker, this recession might make you the next Ryan Graves. Again, he's just like many of us, right? A hardcore techie guy, right? So just wanted to give you an example. He innovated not for his own business, but for other businesses, and he got hired and he grew, right? Second case, if you are already fired, okay, unfortunately, or if you are fired in the future, what do you do? Two things you should do. Do not get bogged down. Do not get into the negative mindset. Apply everywhere you can find an open position. But when you apply, if you just apply with your regular resume, right? There are 100 people applying like you. How do you stand out? You're just like one of the 100 guys. If you just take a standard resume pattern and you say, hey, I have 3 years experience here, 2 years experience here, you're just like the other 100 guys, right? Why should I hire you? I mean, think about it from the hiring manager's perspective, right? So you should build relevant portfolio. Suppose if I am applying for a company, I would say, hey, I see this problem in your company's technology or process or whatever it is. And here is a blog, here is some code that I've built. Here is a quick proof of concept that I've built in like 48 hours or 72 hours that might help your company. I mean, this shows initiative, this shows skills, this shows that you're a go-getter. So having a relevant portfolio, not just some random portfolio. Don't take some random project from the internet and put it. Nobody cares. Every Tom, Dick and Harry can do that. You have to be innovative. You have to look at the most relevant projects that you can put with your current skills and put it in your portfolio for the company, and the company will start talking to you. Very simple. Next, ask yourself, how can you get more work done? If you get an interview call, even in your resume, try to show that. Try to show that you have the cutting edge skills to get more work done in lesser amount of time. Third thing, please upskill. I've seen a lot of students of ours, working professionals, some students also, who have not upgraded their skills. So this is the time you have to upgrade your skills, because suppose imagine you are doing some manual testing earlier, and suppose, God forbid, worst case scenario, you lost your job. And there is a flood of manual testers today in the market. Let's assume, I'm not saying that is the case today. Let's assume that's the case 6 months or 9 months down the line. Then you have to upskill. You have to learn the next thing, whether that is being a good Selenium developer or trying to automate a few things. Whatever skills are needed by the market, please learn that. Whatever that skill is. Okay, it could be a business skill, it could be a technical skill. Please learn that and then apply for the jobs. It might take longer time, but in the bigger horizon of 30 years of your career, you will be better off. Trust me. Another option that some students could consider, this is actually an partially easy option, going back to colleges for higher degrees. Here again, if you have less experience, if you are less than 5 years experience or so, then you could try and go to a technical degree. Suppose imagine you have a BTech degree or a BSc degree, then you can consider doing a master's degree, right? That's one option. But again, if you do not go to a top university, the additional value that you get from the degree is minimal. This is, again, if you go to a top university, great, because that university brand will help you get jobs afterwards. But if you go to a small university, again, even after the recession, you're not adding huge value to your skills or to your resume. Again, those people who have slightly more experience, they could go for a business degree. Again, try to crack a good university where the degree from it helps you both improve your skills and also gives you a good brand recognition to get a job, the first thing. This is one option for you. Again, the shortcut that I see a lot of people do is, okay, let's go to some university, do an MTech or an MBA. Again, that's a shortcut, but please remember that you may not have huge value creation because of the 2 years that you spend during your MTech or MBA at a small university. Try to go to the best universities in your respective countries. Second, the other option, I mean, this is for the extreme guys who are like risk takers, who are like go-getters. Why don't you start up? That's a great thing to do. Why not? Recessions are great times to start up. I've shown you tons of examples just a while ago. Recessions are a great place to start up. Again, here, you should leverage your existing skills, and I'm assuming you have the financial resources to survive a couple of years. You have saved your money, you have not burnt it on some crazy things. You have been financially disciplined for the last few years that you have enough money, and now you can start solving problems. And how do you start a startup? Scratch your own itch. It's a very common thing in startup community. Solve a problem that you encountered, that you think there are thousands of others who have the same problem and people will pay you for it. That's it. Very simple. Nothing fancy here. Scratch your own itch. This is one thing. If you're fired, again, you can Google it. In 2008 recession, some of the good, like WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp was built by a guy who got fired from, I think, Yahoo, if I'm not wrong, during the last recession. He got fired from Yahoo. He applied for a couple of companies, including Facebook, if I'm not wrong. He was not recruited. He said, okay, I have some money sitting with me. I have a lot of experience. I want to go build a WhatsApp-like system. He built WhatsApp. And finally, again, this is a guy who got fired, who had the skills, but who got fired in the last recession. And he applied to a few places. He didn't get hired, but he built one of the most valuable companies in the last decade. Probably something that many millions of people use across the world, right? So just because you get fired, if you go into a panic mode, sorry, you might get into a depression also. So please don't go into a panic mode. Just understand that this is something that is beyond your hands. Ask yourself, okay, jo ho gaya, so ho gaya. Whatever happened, happened. Now, what do I do from now? Okay, these are some of the options that you have. Again, we are not saying which option is right and which option is not right. We're just giving you a plethora of options to pick from. Some people might say, I want to go to a small college, do MTech or MBA. That's perfectly okay. It's a choice you have. Some of them might say, no guys, I want to go big. I want to do a startup. That's also perfectly okay. So we are giving you multiple options here. If you are a student who is either graduating now or who will be graduating in the next 1 to 2 years. Now, if you're graduating now, if you have an offer, look at this, if you have an offer, please go to the company very well prepared for the role that you are being hired for. Okay, please don't mess it up. You are lucky in a way, to be honest with you. In this whole downturn, if you have an offer and your company respects that offer, you join the company, try to work as hard as possible, try to learn as much as possible and get results. This is a great opportunity to learn. Second, if you don't have an offer, that's also possible. Or you have an offer, but the company says, sorry, we can't hire you, or we can't get you on board now. There are multiple options here. First, try to upskill. Learn more skills. It could be anything. Any skill that the market needs, try to get it. Okay, and that's very easy to find. Just go to any job board, go to any job portal and see which jobs are available. The more jobs, the more that role is important. Simple logic, nothing fancy. Okay. Second, try to build a portfolio with relevant projects, as I just mentioned earlier. Please don't do silly projects please do good projects, relevant industry, relevant projects, and build a strong portfolio. Okay, that's very important. Otherwise, you're just like the thousands of students who currently don't have an offer, who is applying to a company. How can the company distinguish you? Right? So this is one way. The third option is startups which are well funded or which have good financial resources now, or which are operating in spaces that are growing now. Try to join a startup. It will teach you a lot. Don't always look for the best brand company. There will be some startups which will hire. Again, for a startup, the best method is what this guy did earlier. So what is this guy's name? Ryan Graves. Foursquare was a startup, right? Around the time that he joined. Uber was a startup when he joined. So if you're planning to join a startup, look at the startup, look at what they're doing and say, hey, I can do what you're doing. I can do it better. Here is my innovative idea. Startups are much more easy to convince to be hired, because in a large company, it becomes very hard to reach the people who make the calls. In a startup, you can say, okay, Or let's take us, right? We are a startup in online education. You can say, hey team, this is an idea that I have that will help you serve your customers and students better. Great. I'll say, okay, if the idea is really good, I'll say, can you build a POC for us? I want to see if you're just an idea guy or you're actually somebody who can go build things. Oh, if you're building things, great. Why not? Cool. We'll try to give you whatever best we can, but we'll hire you. You'll learn a lot of stuff at a startup, right? So you have to innovate here. There is no escape from that this time. Or worst of the worst case. Actually, I do not like the concept of unpaid internships because I think everybody for their effort should get paid. But worst case, if you don't have any other option, join a company as an unpaid intern. It's okay. Instead of sitting idle at your home, do some work, learn some skills at some small startups or even large companies as an intern. Okay. That is also okay, because the reason I suggest that is, anyway, if you're sitting at home, you're not learning anything or you're not learning any real world skills. Anyway, you're not making money. At least as an unpaid intern, you're at least learning some of the skills that will help you get a job sooner, as soon as the slowdown is over, right? So that's an option that you should consider as a last option, worst case. Other option for many students that they'll take is higher education. Whatever I just said earlier makes sense even now. Try to go to the best universities that you can for higher education. If you go to a smaller or a tier 2 or a tier 3 university, the value in your degree may not be incrementally big. Okay, but worst case, if nothing works, that's an opportunity that you could take. Next, some undergraduate students, some of them are very smart, they have very good business sense. You could also think of starting up, but talk to your family, see how long you can run it, because I'm assuming you don't have a lot of financial resources to start up. So you have to be very careful, and you may not have a lot of business expertise, domain expertise, etc. I've done a startup almost straight out of college. I failed miserably. I've learned a few things from that. So, but there are some student startups that have become phenomenally successful, right? So that's also an option that you could consider. Okay, cool. Now, what about the job market? Okay, so I have some questions here. I'll come there. I'll try to answer as many as possible, but let me just finish this. What might the job market look like? Again, we don't know. Now, I'll tell you the current situation as we see it. Okay, the current situation is as follows. We have whatever interviews were scheduled, most companies are trying to finish them online and roll out offers and things like that. The new interviews are slowed down because companies also are uncertain. Like large publicly traded companies don't want to give direction on what their revenues next quarter is, right? Because they don't know. There is too much uncertainty in the marketplace right now. People don't know how long this lockdown will be, how many deaths may be there, how much economic impact will be there. So even like really top-notch macroeconomists don't know exactly how the job market will pan out, right? So we will only get a clearer picture post the lockdown. Okay, we don't know when that will happen. As of today, the official date in India is March 3rd. US, it's all over the place. Various states are deciding various things. Europe, it's all around the place. It's only post lockdown that we get a slightly better picture on what the job market might be. After all the offices open, then people will do meetings, people will understand where their business is heading and things like that. Today, it's very, very fuzzy at best. Okay. So, but let's be honest here, there will be hiring freezes. If you think otherwise, you're just fooling yourself. Okay. There will be some hiring. Some companies will freeze hiring. Some companies will even cut jobs. Some companies, thankfully, will also hire. Let's not forget that. As I told you, there are some industries which will boom in this recession. Just like in the last recession. In every recession, there are some companies which will boom, right? Which will have an uptick. There will be some industries that will have a downtick. There will be some industries that will have an uptick. So there will be new jobs also. There will be jobs, because remember, it is the human ingenuity and innovation. I just put it there. It is the human ingenuity and innovation that solves problems. Many people think, hey, all the jobs will go away. That's never going to happen. Even in the greatest of recessions that we've seen till date, not all the jobs went, right? Some of them go, but they all will come back eventually, right? You just have to survive that downturn and innovate your way through that. So to be realistic here, there will be jobs in the industries which are going to see an uptick, and the industries which have slowed down or plateaued, they'll again go up eventually. But to be realistic, there will be fewer jobs because companies want to be more careful with how they spend their money, which means things will get more competitive. Again, there might be companies like, for example, if you look at Amazon in the US, I mean, that company is doing terrific because everybody is now sitting home. Everybody wants to order online, right? So Amazon stock price has increased enormously in the last few days after the shutdown. Other companies like restaurants, airlines, hotels, they have taken a huge hit, right? So some companies will hire more. Some companies will have freezes. Some of them in the worst case will also have job cuts. But the fewer jobs that are there, they will become more competitive, which means you have to be better skilled for it. You can't say, hey, I've been a Java developer all my life. I'm looking for Java jobs. There might be 1,000 people who have the same skills. How are you different from all of them? Why should we hire you and not somebody else? So you need to have additional skills. The skills can be technical or business, doesn't matter. Those skills can be pure technical. Those skills can be a combination of technical, program management, whatever they are, that's okay. You have to have the skills that the market needs. All the jobs will not go away. We get some calls from students saying, hey, it's gloom and doom. The world is like, we are done. Come on, that's not going to happen. We have survived much worse situations than this. We have survived the Great Plague. Okay. With all the technology, I think we can survive much more. Please understand that new businesses and skills will be born. In the 2008-9 recession, the whole Hadoop revolution happened out of it because companies wanted to run large-scale computing stuff with cheaper hardware, with your desktop, laptop hardware. So the whole big data revolution of sorts started in the last recession. So new skills will be born now. New business models, new businesses will be born. This has happened all around. This has happened in 2008. This has happened in 2001. These are two that I know very well. This has even happened in the 1930s, right? So you have to prepare for the new world or the new skills or the new businesses that will be built. Instead of going into despair and hopelessness, I'm very, very optimistic about the human potential now. Some old companies will dwindle. Some of them will even die. Okay, let's be realistic there also. In the 2001 dot-com bubble, there are thousands of crazy dot-com startups which all died. But those that survived, like Google, like Yahoo then, like Amazon, like eBay, they all became literally household brands, right? Again, the whole spectrum of surviving to excelling, that's a whole spectrum, right? Surviving basically means you're trying to keep your job, you're just trying to pay your bills and ensure that things don't break. That is surviving. Other extreme is excelling. You can choose where you want to stay. Okay, you can choose. You can say, I just want to do the minimum to survive so that my job doesn't go away. Or you can say, hey, this is great opportunity. Let's do what I have always been thinking of doing. So there is this huge spectrum from survival to excelling. The worse than surviving is panic. So I'm hoping that all of you have realized that you should not panic. Between survival and excelling, it's a choice you make. I would suggest all of you to think of how do you excel, because this is once in a decade or once in 2 decades opportunity. Okay, it doesn't come every day, trust me. Okay, even a catastrophe is an opportunity to reimagine yourself, to reimagine a new business, to rethink everything. Okay, you might say, okay, the whole services industry can be rethought, can be reimagined. Again, in the history, in the last 2 decades or so, when there is a downturn, the services industry got hit initially, but then it recovers very fast because companies want to do cost cutting, right? And one of the ways is offshoring. Again, it has its own concerns in some parts of the world, but at the end of the day, wherever high quality work can be done at low cost in this globalized economy, that's where the work will go, right? So these are all the points that I wanted to cover. Again, I have a flood of questions. Let me go one by one. Wow, I have a flood of questions that my team has put in. I'll try to answer as many as possible, right? So let's go top down. Again, I'm just looking at my phone to ensure that, okay, so that's all. Those were the notes that I wrote. Again, it's a choice that you have. You can panic, you can survive, or you can excel. It's just your choice. Okay, so will there be much switch opportunities post-COVID for 2+ year experience, guys? There will be opportunities. As I told you just a while ago, there will be new jobs in new industries, new businesses, new startups. There will be with new skills sometimes, right? Whether you're a fresher, 2 years experience, 10 years experience, there will be new opportunities. But again, mind my words, there will be more competition. So you have to be at the bleeding edge. Okay. Will it be wise idea to switch jobs across domains in post-COVID scenario? You have to, because some jobs might completely die. Again, this is a great opportunity for you to upskill, to go to a better job. Again, it could be business job, it could be any job. I'm not saying only technical stuff. There will be new opportunities, and if you are at that skill level, nothing should stop you. So are you still helping in arranging interviews with companies like Amazon, HSBC, Microsoft, Adobe? Yes. So during this lockdown itself, we had one of our students whose interviews just started before the lockdown. He finished through all his interviews. He's a slightly experienced guy, I think 5-6 years experience if I'm not wrong. And he cleared it. I'm hoping, we are just waiting for his offer letter to come through. But again, the interviews that were scheduled before the lockdown, most of the large product-based companies have continued with the whole interview process. They want, again, there are some options that are even open now. If you go to the job portals, again, there are some, again, not every company might be hit, as I told you. Not every product-based company might be hit badly, right? There will be some companies, like for example, take Amazon, as I just told you a while ago, right? Amazon is seeing a huge boom in business because nobody wants to step out. I know my family members and friends who live in the US. One of my friends, he said that you can't place more than 54 items, I think, in an Amazon cart. Because he was trying to place everything that he needs in an Amazon cart. After 54, I think it didn't allow him. So he was like, there are people who are stress testing Amazon systems now, right? So there will be companies that will hire. There will be companies that will not hire. There will be companies which will lay off. The whole spectrum will be there, even in product-based companies. Even in product-based companies, there will be the whole spectrum. Okay, I'm sure companies like Hotstar, okay, which will see an uptick in viewership, will hire more people, right? So depends on the industry. Some product-based companies, top product-based companies are still hiring heavily today. Okay. Okay, could you kindly speak about possible effect of Corona on GATE? I don't think there will be a huge impact. What we see now is, again, on typically higher education, I think what will happen now is most of the classes will be conducted online, at least for one semester. Most of the universities in the US and also in India, like for example, Indian Institute of Science where I studied, they used to have a written exam and interview process for some programs. Now I think they cancelled all of it. I think that's what I remember talking to some of our students, and they're saying, okay, we'll just use the merit rank that you got and based on it, we'll allocate. And most likely if nothing works, they'll do these, they'll teach online. They'll have some forums for people to discuss. That's all they can do. There are a lot of universities in the US that are saying we are shut down for almost a year now, because universities is one place where a lot of students interact, and the spread of disease, because students come from all over the place, the spread of disease can shut down a whole university. So I think for GATE itself, there will not be a big hit. Classes will happen because education is something that you can continue to do online, right? So of course, the model of education might change. Some professors and teachers may not be comfortable teaching online. So we'll see all that. Okay. But as far as GATE is concerned, the government of India manages most of these top institutions and they have sufficient funds to run it. So I don't see any reason why there will be a hit there. Okay. So will EdTech industry boom and online degrees get benefited and recognized more? That's a very good question. So the problem here is this. Today, most online certifications that you get are useless. Let's be honest here. Okay. Again, I'm part of the industry. I understand it fairly well. I've been a recruiter, hiring manager myself. They do not, again, why does a company want to hire from, let's say, MIT or Stanford? Two reasons. Two very simple reasons. The degree that they give is a good measure of skills. Simple logic. Okay. So I mentioned this in the previous live sessions also that we conducted, that any online university, if the degree exam and the certificate they give is not of the highest quality, nobody will look at it. So what is highest quality? It should be proctored, or there should be some invigilation to ensure that people don't cheat, or at least cheating is minimal, number one. And the quality of the exam itself is very high. If you just give some simple trivial questions and you say, hey, everybody got A, there is no point in the degree, right? So any online university or even offline universities, take regular universities, right? There are, I think, thousands of universities, at least hundreds of universities in India. Most university degree certificates are not very valuable. Why is it so? Because two reasons, okay? You just remember a few concepts by heart, write it in a question paper, you get a degree certificate. You pass exams, you get 70%, you get A grades, whatever, you get a certificate. That certificate doesn't measure your skills. So it's useless. So I am hoping that this recession or this downturn will force online education to have more measurement and proctoring and assessment to ensure that their certificates actually are meaningful and not just given randomly. That's very important. Again, at Applied AI course also, we have a very stringent process for giving our certification because we want only people who have the skills to get it. Otherwise, what is the point in giving a certificate? There's no point at all. Okay, sounds good. Will ML and AI jobs be impacted by lockdown? We don't know. I think, as I mentioned a while ago, right? Today, we don't have the clear picture now because most companies are like, okay, let the lockdown get through. Then we'll discuss, we'll finalize what the next step should be. Whatever they've started, they're continuing that. All the new stuff, they're like, okay, we want to get a sense of uncertainty. Again, there are some businesses that are booming now who are like, we want to hire more. But any business that is even having a small amount of uncertainty, they're like, okay, let's wait for the lockdown to get through. Okay, and this is true for any job, whether you're in marketing, sales, business development, software engineering, machine learning. But I think machine learning might have a small advantage, which is a lot of companies in their process of cutting costs might want to automate a lot of stuff. Instead of having 10 people, can I do with 5 people? That's a question every company will ask because they can't pay salaries to 10 people. They at least want to pay good salaries to 5 people. How do they do that? They say, okay, can we use this whole fancy AI machine learning to automate some of the work so that whatever 10 people were doing, can 5 people do now? That's something that I'm sure companies will think of. And if there is potential there, surely the number of machine learning jobs will increase. Again, it all depends on the industry. Okay, there are no yes or no answers here. Okay, cool. I'm from Ireland and I'm an Applied AI student. The career prospects that are open here are only minimum 2+ years. How can I get a job in data science without any experience? Again, so Ireland is not a market that we understand very well. That's why our job guarantee we did not announce there. But my suggestion to you, unfortunately your name is not here. My suggestion here is this. The gentleman from Ireland who asked this question, my suggestion is this. See, every company wants experienced people. Every company wants it. Who doesn't want it, right? But if you can show that you have skills that a 2+ year experienced guy has through your portfolio, build a strong portfolio, build things that are actually as close as production as possible and show that you have skills that a 2+ year guy has, and you might actually join for an offer which is lower than a 2+ year experienced guy. A 2+ year experienced guy might ask for $100,000. You can say, I'm a fresher, I'm okay to work for $70,000 and I have the skills of a 2+ experienced guy. And the other way to pitch to a startup or even a company would be, okay, if you want to mitigate risk, why don't I work for you as an intern, a paid intern, preferably a paid intern. Work as a paid intern, show your value. I mean, this has happened to me that some of my best hires are oftentimes interns because we get time to work with them. We get time to understand what they know, what they don't know, how skilled they are at a given thing. And the hires we make from interns, that's why a lot of companies prefer having internships, seeing how people work for 3 to 6 months and then hiring them. So your best shot would be build a strong portfolio, go for internships. And I think you can, again, I think people after completing their Applied AI course with all the skills they have, with the portfolios they build, they can compete with people with 2+ years experience. I am very confident about it. Okay, cool. People with a career break. That's a good question. So the question here is what to do for people who already have a career break. For you, again, it's very similar to what I just mentioned earlier. You're very similar to this set of people, okay, who again, instead of being fired recently, you were not part of the workforce for a longer period of time, which means you better have better skills than the normal guy. You have to upskill now. There is no escaping that fact. Okay, if you have had a break, my suggestion is please work as an intern. That's okay, because instead of not working as an intern is better. At least you're learning real world skills that will help you in your 30-year career. That's your easiest way to get in. Okay, and of course you should do all this that I recommended to students who are already fired. Cool. So, okay, which master's course will be the hottest now? Analytics, big data. Again, we can't guess it. To be honest with you, we can't guess it. Okay, if I can guess it, I mean, we would launch a course tomorrow. I mean, I'm serious, I'm not kidding. Like, for example, after the 2008 crisis, two things happened, especially the rise of big data happened because of 2-3 things. Number one, there is more data being collected because of the smartphone revolution, because of the internet reaching more and more people across the world, including countries like India and China. Two things. So more data, but people did not want to buy supercomputers to crunch this. So they said, what is a cheaper option? They said, okay, let's just connect these systems over Ethernet and just build something called Hadoop. Right? These solutions came out of human ingenuity, human innovation to solve the problem. Right? It's very, very hard to predict the future. It's very hard. So we have to be prepared. As soon as we see something going, we have to get on that. That's the only way forward, to be honest with you. Right? If I knew that, okay, this job market will take off, we'll hire somebody, or if I can create the course or one of my teammates can create the course, we'll create it tomorrow. We don't know the answer, to be honest with you. Okay. But we have a small hope that the machine learning, data science jobs, which can automate some of the human work today, might see an uptick. Might see. Again, we are not 100% sure. Because at the end of the day, companies, instead of having 10 employees, they want to get done with 5 employees, which means they need better tools, better machine learning automation tools to get that done. So I think something like that could happen, but we are not 100% sure. Because you can never predict, especially in this type of very crazy situation where you don't know how many people might die in a country tomorrow or how much economic impact can happen. It's very, very hard to predict. I mean, nobody predicted that oil prices per barrel will go into negative in the futures market just 3 months back. Nobody guessed it. Nobody guessed it. Okay, even the best economists in the world couldn't have guessed it, right? So we don't know, to be honest with you. Okay. So another important point that I forgot to mention, we are seeing a huge surge in online education. So again, that's something that is, as I mentioned earlier, online education, I think, is one of the spaces which will see an uptick because of it. But people in the online education also should do it the right way. You don't want to be like the .com bubble guys, right? So I think the whole industry of, again, one thing that we do see is we see more students who are approaching us to join various courses that we offer, and the rationale is simple. I might lose my job. I want to upskill. I want to prepare. I want to learn new things. And I mean, you guys are doing a decent job, so why not? And we are growing fairly fast, again, for the courses that we offer. Okay, there are lots of courses that we do not offer because today we have a very, very nice focus on some topics, and we are growing massively well in those niches that we operate in. Of course, we are trying to innovate. We are trying to do new things. For example, we did this for our GATE students recently, right? So we have done a lot of back-end software engineering work to make it easier for our students who are even in rural India, because of the lockdown, they went to their hometowns and villages, and unfortunately, they did not have. One second. Okay, so this is a small glitch. Sorry. So just a second. Okay, back. Okay, I'm back. So there are some students who there are some students who are in rural India where they're not getting 4G properly, and they said we want to still watch videos. So we literally sat down for 4 days, 5 days. We literally rewrote the whole backend and got it to them even on extremely low end devices very easily. I mean, we have to innovate through this process for our students. Okay. Okay. So So this is a good question by Ankush. So the question here is the mentorship that we offer once students complete at least 50% of assignments. Will we be guiding how to actually even apply during this downfall? Yes. Our whole placements division and mentorship division now is geared up to ensure that all the students who finish the course, we place them as soon as we can. Like we are working overdrive on that, right? We will, again, please remember that we always try to do the best we can for our students. I also messaged this early in the discussion that any student who finishes the whole course, we put in like extra effort needed to try to get them jobs in the industry. Even today we are fairly confident of it, but again, there is some uncertainty in the market and we'll have a much clearer picture in the next 2 to 3 months. But today our whole team is fairly confident that we can place students who finish the course because they have the skills that are required for the industry even in a downturn. Okay. Okay, what is the future of ML? Okay, so I'm avoiding course specific, machine learning specific questions. I'm trying to answer more general questions about the slowdown and things like that, right? This is a very good question. Again, I'm also seeing the live feed here. How is the risk going for less salary when changing the domain? It's okay. Because remember, the very important thing that you should remember here is, if you're going into a new domain, I'll give you this example, right? So this guy, sorry, where is this guy? So Ryan Graves, when he moved from General Electric to Foursquare, he joined Foursquare as an intern. He already has work experience at GE as a database admin and an IT manager. But he joined Foursquare for free. He did business development for free. He joined as an intern, literally probably taking 1/5 or 1/3 the salary. Okay, so if you're going into a domain or if you're joining a startup which you think and which you believe will go up in this, again, it's a bet you're making with your career. It's literally a bet that you're making with your career. It's perfectly okay to, when you're changing domains, especially in this downturn. In regular days, I wouldn't suggest it, but in this downturn, if you want to switch domains to a completely different, either technical or non-technical domain, at another company that you think your growth potential will be better in the future, it's okay to go for it. Okay, it's okay. Because this has been done during the last recessions by many people and it's worked brilliantly well for them. Okay. Impact on automobile industries. I think I'm not an expert in automobile macroeconomics, but I think there will be some impact because automobile is a big investment. Okay, it's not a small investment in terms of capital. So anything that requires you to put in a lot of money, like real estate, like automobiles, I think they will take a hit, at least in the short term. In the long term, if you look at it from a 5-year horizon, I think everything will be okay. In the short term, I think things will be hit. But again, please don't take a very narrow 6 months or 1 year view. Your career is again, I think I'm already I'm in my mid-30s now, or yeah, mid-30s. I think I'm going to work to my 70s if my body and my mind facilitates that, right? I look at my career as like it's already been 11 years now. I think I'm going to work for at least 30 more years, maybe 35 years if everything works well, right? So look at your career from a larger lens. Don't look at it from a very narrow viewpoint. That doesn't help you. Okay, okay, sounds good. That's all I had. Those are the topics that I wanted to cover in this live session, and unfortunately I could not cover anything. I hope this session was, if not fully useful, partly useful to some of you. But please remember that, okay, let me go to this. Look at this from a historical context. Don't look at it as, why is this happening to me type thing. This has happened many times. Generations of people have survived, have thrived in something like this. So you have to look for, if you do not work hard, gone. Please don't take shortcuts in the spectrum of survival to excellence. So the spectrum is threefold, right? So there is panic. I hope everybody thinks that you should not panic. I hope nobody panics. There is no use of it. It will only hurt you. I hope everybody understands that. Then there is survival and there is excellence. I hope most of you are convinced that you should aim for excellence more than survival. Because survival, you're on the borderline. And there are tons of opportunities, guys. Again, I had a very similar discussion with many of my team members in my one-on-ones, in my group chats recently. There were some of them who have not seen the last Great Recession. They were panicking. They were like, what will happen? I'm like, guys, what is the worst case that will happen? What is the worst case? Okay, we all might lose our jobs. Okay. What is the worst? We all will lose our jobs. So what? The world isn't collapsing. We have 30 more years of career, right? Or at least 40 years for some of the youngsters. We have a long run. These are great lessons of life that no university, no college, nothing can teach you. These are lessons of life. It's time for us to buckle up and get going. Okay. Again, you have to prepare for the worst case, but you have to be optimistic about life. Again, please save every penny. Okay. Please don't do all this, unnecessary spending. Okay. Money is, you have to have reasonable amount of money now. Even if you're fired, ensure that you can survive 12 months with the savings that you have. That's very, 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 very important. Okay. Okay, folks, I hope this session was useful, at least to some of you. And I hope more of you are targeting the excellence part and not the survival part. And hopefully none of you are in the panic mode, or if you're in the panic mode, you're looking ahead of it. Okay. See you. Thank you very much.